środným plovisky. Musíme tackle smack. Check flag.
It's the start of an incredible journey. A new era for motorsport. Welcome to Extreme E. An all-electric racing series with a purpose. To raise awareness of climate change.
And we start here, in the remote deserts of Saudi Arabia. Around the canyons of Al Ula, the Extreme E teams, 9 men and 9 women, will do battle across a car-breaking landscape of rocks and sand. The 8.8-kilometre course is breathtakingly beautiful, but it will test every car to its limit. Hello and a very warm welcome to Saudi Arabia and to a genuine piece of motorsport history. The first event of the Extreme E calendar, a series for state-of-the-art electric SUVs. But it's also a sport with a real purpose, one that promotes the adoption of electric vehicles, but one that will also throw a spotlight on the world's most endangered environments and the fight against global climate change.
Yes, Al Ula is a stunning remote wilderness in the Arabian desert, about 250 kilometres east of the Red Sea, a hot, unforgiving place for the very first Prix. And this is a course built for action. It will take no prisoners. It's taken a couple already. But before we go any further, if you want to know all about Extreme E, here is your starter pack.
Earth, a planet in perfect balance, providing life across 7 continents, from the biodiverse rainforest to the deepest parts of our oceans. But this existence is at threat. Humans are pumping dangerous levels of carbon into the atmosphere, causing the planet's temperature to rise. In the last decade, we have been witness to the hottest temperatures ever recorded, and huge parts of our ice caps are melting into the ocean, disrupting the ecosystem, threatening our way of life.
The consequences of climate change are affecting millions of people across the planet.
Cities worldwide, everywhere, are going to become uninhabitable.
Our planet is heading towards a climate disaster that threatens all life on Earth as we know it.
We have to act now to make those changes.
Extreme E will bring together the fastest drivers on 4 wheels, in fully electric racing off-road SUVs, to some of the most remote and damaged areas on Earth, raising awareness of the environment, electrification and equality.
I have an impossible dream, to race electric cars in the most remote corners of the planet. I know, without leaving a trace.
The Prix will be held across 5 countries, each highlighting the local impact of climate change. From the polluted ocean of Senegal, melting ice caps of Greenland, diminishing rainforests of the Amazon, retreating glaciers of Patagonia, to rapidly heating deserts of Saudi Arabia, using the power of sport to highlight the effects human impact is having on our world.
I think it's really important to really immerse yourself in those areas and see what's happening with climate change so we can really increase awareness, and from awareness we can have more people taking more actions.
To tackle these demanding locations requires one of the most robust racing cars ever built, the Odyssey 21. This purpose-designed all-electric machine is constructed using cutting-edge environmental technologies and materials. The battery will be charged using a hydrogen fuel cell, producing clean, emission-free energy. Behind the wheel of these off-road machines will be some of the biggest names in racing.
The car feels insane.
It's amazing how much torque you have to have immediate power when you touch the throttle pedal.
The drivers, they didn't know what to expect and they were blown away. That's probably the biggest shock, is just how much torque you're able to get.
And marking an historic first for international motorsport, the driver lineup will be equally split, 50% male, 50% female.
The level of competition is going to be insane.
Teams will go wheel to wheel on the most extreme terrains, in the most extreme temperatures, driving the most extreme vehicles.
Extreme E takes racing to uncharted territories by bringing the action to some of the most remote locations, all of which are suffering from the destruction of our environment.
But there is more to this than flat-out racing. A team of industry-leading scientists have joined our race for a greener future to provide unrivaled insights into the regions where we compete, guaranteeing we race without a trace. When the checkered flag falls, our legacy programs will ensure that Extreme E leaves a lasting difference in each and every location.
We want to bring awareness, we want to showcase electric cars, and we want to leave behind a legacy linked to climate change and to pollution.
Wouldn't it be great to be a part of something that really does make a difference?
This is fierce and exciting racing with the future of our planet at its heart. This is the greatest adventure of our time. This is Extreme E.
So you've had your basic guide to what Extreme E is all about. It's time for the next step. You need to know exactly how a race weekend works. We're about halfway through, looking forward to the conclusion of the event today.
The world's finest drivers have joined brand new teams to compete in the Extreme E Championship. Each team will consist of one female and one male driver. The drivers will compete in Prix across the globe, each highlighting a specific environmental issue. The male and female driver must compete one lap each in any order and can choose at the last moment who starts. Each team has 2 hyperdrive power boosts they can activate on lap 1 and lap 2 of the race. Expect strategy and tactics. Day 1 is qualifying. Session 1 sees all 9 teams set times. Each car will do 2 laps, 1 from each of their drivers. Session 2 sees all the teams head out to the course again. The times from both sessions are then added together to make up the qualifying order and grab the first championship points of the weekend. The top 3 go into the semi-final. 4th, 5th and 6th go to the crazy race, and the bottom 3 heading to the shootout race to fight it out for precious championship points. Day 2 starts with the semi-final, with the top 2 teams proceeding to the final, leaving 1 spot up for grabs to be claimed by the winner of the crazy race. The bottom 3 teams from Day 1's qualifying go head-to-head in the shootout race to decide who finishes 7th, 8th and 9th overall. Grid play allows fans to vote for their favourite team and drivers. The team that collects the most votes get first grid position pick for the final, with the 2nd and 3rd teams choosing in order after. But there is a twist. The teams who do not reach the final can still have an impact, as they can donate their votes to any team that reaches the final and influence who eventually wins the all-important grid play. The team that crosses the line first in the final wins the Prix and claims 25 championship points, with the following teams collecting further championship points in descending order. All 5 Prix count towards the team's championship, and in the Drivers' Championship, competitors can drop their worst Prix result of the season. Who has what it takes to lift the trophy?
Here we go then, race day. My name's Andrew Coley, Jenny Gow in the commentary box with me as always, and joining us today is Karun Chandok, a legend of many multiple disciplines. Karun, I don't think this is something you've done though.
No, very nice to be here for, you know, a day of history in the making, really. I was in the first Formula E race, and in many ways, I was texting with Alejandro yesterday saying there's a similar sense of anticipation for something big that he's launched and different, you know, and I think that's the nice thing about Extreme E is they've gone way outside the box in terms of what motorsport is, and it's been entertaining to watch so far.
I was going to say, what did you think yesterday? Because everybody was thinking, okay, what's this actually going to be like? And wow.
Yeah, I think, you know, this is it. We didn't know what to expect. You know, we saw Sebastian Loeb set off for the first ever lap, and then, you know, we've seen some accidents, we've seen some clean runs, but on the whole, very entertaining so far. And really, but today, it's all about today. It's the wheel-to-wheel racing that I think everyone's excited about today, and this is the main day now.
Yeah, very much looking forward to this. Going to have 3 cars on track. Yesterday was qualifying day. So it was Sebastian Loeb who set us off into the first ever Extreme E course for X44 Lewis Hamilton's team. The Frenchman, 9 times a World Rally Champion, super relaxed. No mistakes really from him at all. Cristina Gutierrez, his teammate, taking over, a Dakar specialist. She certainly knows how to handle a car on sand. And they were at the top of the leaderboard, Jenny, for a long time.
Yeah, two of them making a really good pair, but they were challenged and pushed hard by Nico Rosberg's team, and they really pushed, but unfortunately for them, picked up a penalty. So this was a real problem, but look at them bouncing around, and they had such a push out there. They were having great fun, Johansson and Taylor.
Yeah, that was Q1 where Kristoffersson went fastest with his teammate. Taylor with that huge moment. Timmy Hansen perfect through that rhythm section. Katie Munnings took over, and Jenny, this was one of the most spectacular moments of the day. Their Q1 run spoiled by a puncture, but what a drive.
She was absolute hero. She managed to get that car back, and she was giving it full tilt, even though you can see the rubber flailing around everywhere.
Now, something else that was flailing around everywhere, unfortunately, not in a good way, Stefan Sarazan. Look at this. Absolutely huge crash at the bottom of the hill, and unfortunately for Veloce, a tiny little kink in one of the roll cage tubes means that the car has been withdrawn on safety grounds. That's the right decision, but it's a shame. Conversely, this car, Hultgren, absolutely huge crash. I mean, listen to that. You can hear the energy in the accident. She, thankfully, was perfectly okay, and thanks to a big stint by the team, they will be back today.
And the Chip Ganassi car with Sarah Price and Kyle Ledoux. You can see Sarah, the power steering had gone, and she had to really wrestle the car around. She did an admirable job just to get it back, but it's not been their weekend so far.
On then to Q2, Jenson Button waiting for his teammate Michaela Arlen-Kotlinski to come in for the changeover. Watch for this on the brakes. There's a very harsh pit lane speed limit. Michaela actually got the speed down before the entrance to pit lane, if you want to call it that, the switch zone, but unfortunately she jumped on the gas. You can hear Jenson Button, they say there, she's going too quick, and they had a massive penalty. And so, Jenny, as you said earlier, did these guys.
Yeah, absolutely. It was really frustrating, I think, for some of the drivers that on this first run out, they couldn't really put it together without a clean drive. So Molly Taylor, Johan Kristoffersson doing the switch, and on that switch, they picked up a 1-minute penalty, and it really ate in what could have been a really nice lead for them.
They would have been top qualifier. They were about 4.5 seconds quicker in Q1. They were 5.56 seconds quicker in Q2, but with that minute penalty, they actually dropped down to 3rd place. So not ideal for them. It was ideal for this pairing. Loeb and Gutierrez, the drivers had to go in the opposite running order in the afternoon. So where Loeb led the car out in the morning, it was Gutierrez who led it out in the afternoon. No mistakes. Loeb, the tiny mistake in the morning, Jenny, maybe that would have made the difference, but the minute penalty for Kristoffersson and Taylor meant that basically they would have taken the top slot anyway.
Have to say, they looked pretty impressive, didn't they? A comfortable, I suppose, introduction to Extreme E, because remember, yesterday was the first time we'd seen them in aggression in these cars.
I think these guys found the right blend of risk versus reward. Okay, one small mistake for Loeb cost them 5 seconds, but in terms of pace, I'd have Loeb and Gutierrez, Kristoffersson and Taylor down as very, very close indeed. We're going to be in for some fantastic action today, seeing them race head-to-head on this tricky course for the very first time. So here are the standings. Well, this is in fact where the standings led to on day 2. These are your 3 races. So semi-final is going to see Loeb, Gutierrez, Sainz, Sands, Kristoffersson and Taylor. 2 of those cars will go through to the final. Crazy race. Hansen, Munnings, Bennett, Giampaolo Zonka, Button and Kotlinski. 1 goes through to the final, and we've got a shootout for the bottom 2 places.
Well, we have 5 E-Prix this season, each with a different focus: desert, ocean, Arctic, Amazon and glacier. And Extreme E has its very own science committee of leading academics in their field. So who better to tell us the bigger picture? Well, Saudi Arabia is the place where we are starting. 35 million in population, and as you can see, sand and rock is the terrain and the issue. Desertification, and as the water dries up, the desert gets bigger. The team went out the other day and they spent some time with the desert and the beaches, trying to clear them up, and spent time with the turtles as well. So for them, they have been learning about what they're doing here, as well as trying to understand what they're doing with the racing. It's a fantastic combination. And Andrew, I have to say, when it comes to the setting for the very first Prix, not only does it look fantastic and fascinating and all those superlatives, but you can see what the problem is highlighted by Extreme E so clearly.
Very much. I think it's important to understand that this is racing for purpose, is what Alejandro said all along. We're coming to these beautiful, stunning places, but they are at risk. And the idea is to come here, to race without a trace, to go home and leave it exactly as we found it. The tyre tracks will disappear in the sand, leave behind a legacy project as well. And I think we're doing a great job on the first Prix.
Well, let's hear from our experts. They're a panel who have joined us to make sure that they can advise Extreme E how to go to these locations and make sure they leave them in a better place than they started. So let's find out all about the cause, the main aim of Extreme E.
A lot of people think that Extreme E is just another race series. It's so much more than that. I'm Professor Peter Wadhams of Cambridge University, and I'm chairman of the Science Committee for Extreme E. One of the race locations for the Extreme E is the Arctic, and I've spent most of my career working in the Arctic. The changes I've seen have just been enormous. Here I am standing on top of the Greenland ice sheet. If all of the ice on the Greenland ice sheet melted, most of the Earth's coastal cities would be flooded. It's a very serious situation.
Ice caps melting in Greenland actually is impacting the coastlines of Africa thousands of miles away. The ocean is connected. It's not like our land masses. When we talk about the ocean, it is just one entity, and that's pretty amazing. We're all connected. So as well as sea level rise and other consequences of climate change, coastlines across the globe have relatively new impacts, like plastic pollution. And a recent study in the Atlantic estimated that across the globe we have about 21 million tons of these tiny plastic particles floating out there in the ocean. It is really a challenge that is global.
We hear a lot about ice melt and sea level rise and changes to the rainforests. We hear very little about the deserts themselves, but it's really at our own cost. Deserts are extraordinarily beautiful, fragile, important ecosystems, but they're becoming hotter and they're becoming drier and they're becoming larger.
Forest loss is one of the big challenges that we have in our planet. The Amazon is at the center of this challenge. Everyone can do something, even people that are away from here, the fans. There is always a possibility to help save the Amazon, to help save the planet.
Every individual needs to do something. If you do a little, the result can be a lot.
It's not so much the survival of the fittest, but it's the ability to adapt.
Each of us, we have our role to play.
It's not a time when we can just sit and watch the world go by.
So yesterday then qualifying finished, and that put the drivers into their various races, and from there they then get to pick their grid position. So Gutierrez and Loeb as the top qualifiers decided to go on what I think is the right-hand side of the grid, so they should have the inside line. It's looking at the green X's, they were in front of them yesterday. I wonder if they've chosen the outside line. Either way, they're not in the middle of the grid. And Jenny, yesterday, that was what, when we were talking to Sam Bird, he was saying he wouldn't want to be in the middle, which I think is pretty wise from a dust point of view.
Yeah, they chose to go in the middle as well. So there we go, differing opinions. Andretti United taking their first pick as well. And again, Hispano Suiza getting the second pick and going in the middle. So they they desperately wanted one, but Jenson Button's team have got 3. So that's how they lined up, and then the final 2 slotting into 1 and 2, as you can imagine. Let's give you a guide to this course.
Round 1 of the Extreme E Championship will be held on this 8.8-kilometre circuit, situated in the heart of the Saudi Arabian desert. A course built around this incredible, dramatic landscape to highlight the effects of desertification on this delicate ecosystem. The course is made up of gates that the drivers must pass through, but with no track limits, the teams can choose their own line around the course for the best lap time. So away from the starting area, it's a very long run up to what is effectively turn 1. Now that won't matter when you're running on your own in the time trials. In the race section of the event, you're going to want to get there first because of the dust. There are many sandy, bumpy sections to the track, undulations, and it's about how hard you can attack them. How much can the Odyssey 21 take? How quickly can you pass over the very difficult terrain? Slowest part of the course, up at the far end, through a dry riverbed and then around a hairpin left, which takes you around the back side of the course and to the most dramatic feature of all. More than 45 degrees, a 100-metre drop straight down a sand dune into a narrow gate at the bottom. Side by side there, things are going to get very tricky indeed. Undulations again, changing between road surfaces, sand, gravel, rocks. There's some undergrowth out there too. The drivers are going to have to pick their line, but they're going to be able to choose their line. Separate paths, which one's quicker? Does it give you an opportunity to take some time off a competitor or maybe be able to make a pass? Another downhill section here, coming towards the end of the lap, and it's another transition from sand onto gravel. This might suit the rally drivers just a little bit more, passing onto a road which effectively is the last 2 corners on the track. By now, I think you'll know whether you're going to take the checkered flag first or not. There is the finish, and that is a lap of Al-Ula.
So it is time. Enough of the talking. Let's see some action. This is the Desert X Prix in Saudi Arabia, and we are delighted to be bringing you our first day of semi-final race action. 3 cars going to go head to head, and we'll go down to our paddock. Layla Anna Lee is there as our pit lane reporter. She'll be bringing you all the inside gossip as we scout around the paddock and find out all the stories for you.
First ever semi-finals of Extreme E. I'm here with current reigning Dakar champion Carlos Sainz. Carlos, you're about to head out for the semi-finals, the first head-to-head we've seen. How are you feeling about racing against the others? How are you feeling about racing against the others?
We will see. It's, first time we start in parallel. I think it's the dust, like always, going to be the key point, and we will try to have a good start and see what it's bringing.
We're excited to watch it. Thank you very much. Hopefully he'll have fun out there. It is a very unforgiving course. I'm going to grab now Johan Kristoffersen. Where has he gone? He's over here of Rosberg X Racing. Johan, how are you feeling going out there? Now 3 cars, we've seen it's quite an unforgiving course. What are your plans?
The course is fine, as long as you're first. So. Shouldn't be a problem. It's a bit early in the morning, but yeah, should be okay.
Okay, looking fresh. Thank you very much. Enjoy. And just right over here on the grid are qualifying leaders of X44. Where is our driver? Is he inside already? Yes, he is just having some final chats with his team. I'm going to dive in very quickly. You can get that mic in there and we'll speak to him now. Hello, about to go head-to-head for our final. How are you feeling looking out at Al-Ula Desert right now?
Yeah, I feel excited for sure. It will be the first time that we do something like that, so I think it will be very important to be ahead in the beginning of the stage, because afterwards the dust will be very difficult to follow, I think. So we will see. I will try to take a good start, try my best. We'll see where we finish that.
We look forward to watching you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And there you have it, ready for the semi-final to begin.
Well, I think we've got a good idea then, haven't we, of who's taking the cars on the run down to the first corner. It's Kristoffersen, Loeb and Sainz.
No bluffing.
No, they're allowed to change driver right up until about a minute before. But on this occasion, they're all ready to go, and I think probably Karun, in terms of sticking in a racer, do you think that's the right decision?
Yeah, I'm not convinced that I think they've all gone for the safe option, but I think going forward they'll try and mix it up. At least one of the teams will try and do something different, just to strategically try and mix things up a little bit.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so this is our course fly-through, VR course fly-through for you. That effectively is turn one, down with the Continental branding there. It kind of narrows into a funnel. It's a right and a left, and Jenny, that's why the Loeb squad have chosen the inside line. I mean, it's a mile away. I'm not sure it's going to be the deciding factor.
Yeah, they've got to give themselves every possibility. 5 minutes, you can hear race direction saying, until the start of this first semi-final. Through Gate 3, and this is the great part, the hill and the ravine with that big drop-off, 45-degree angle, and then they can get on the gas. Very kind of dense sand around that Gate 4 area.
I'm interested to see this back part of the course. Yesterday, most people were on a set line, which, okay, is probably the fastest line from point to point. But if you're going to want to see out of the dust, I think we might see people taking alternate lines to try to find a way through. In theory, if it's the longer way round, it's not going to work. But looking at yesterday, you just don't know.
I'm so excited because we still haven't had 3 cars going out at the same time. What we've had so far is 1 car going out on a time trial. Now we've switched things around, and let's see what happens. This could be carnage, it could be great fun, whatever it'll be extreme, I have a feeling.
There is the Acciona science machine being pulled out from the tent.
I like the fact that, you know, just looking at that wonderful graphic we had of the course here, I do like the fact that it's open. They just have to get to the gates and then they can go wherever they want. And it's going to be really interesting to see when they're side by side and as the course develops, because of course we're in the desert and it's going to change as the day evolves. By the time we get to the final, the line that you've taken here in the first race of the day is going to be wildly different to what we get later on.
That is turn one that we can see down there, and you can see a couple of the course cars heading out to their marshal positions. Here is your starting list. So from P3, it's Christopherson and Taylor. From P2, Carlos Sainz and Laia Sanz. And from P1, on the pole, if you like, Sebastian Loeb and Cristina Gutierrez choosing that inside line. Karun Sam yesterday said he wouldn't necessarily want to be in the middle of the grid. Your thoughts on that?
3 minutes.
I think it's going to be... We just got to see, haven't we?
Yeah.
You know, in terms of the way... Because you've got certain rocks, you've got certain, you know, those tufts that caught Stefan Sarrazin out yesterday. So, you know, it's a long run to that, as you mentioned, it's about 1 kilometer, isn't it, to the first proper corner. So they've got to pick their line carefully and just they've got to stay out of trouble. That's the first thing on the opening lap with the dust.
Well, let's go down to our command centre, have a listen in.
Inaugural Desert X Prix. It's time now for our semi-final. Let's welcome the teams X44, Acciona Sanz XE team, and Rosberg X Racing. Our teams are set. We're ready to race.
So the command centre giving us a real insight into what these teams are feeling and letting us see what the action is developing behind the cars.
2 minutes we're hearing until the start of this. There is the grid. Some backdrop has to be said. Quite fairly wide gaps between the cars. First time we've even seen 3 cars on the grid.
Yeah, but it's a fantastic lineup of the 3 teams. I mean, I've just done a quick bit of math, and I can count 22 World Championships, FIA World Championships, between the team bosses or team owners and drivers in the semi-final. So it's an amazing lineup of drivers and team owners here. I think you could see where Loeb is parked there, left of our screen, right of the track. There's actually got a bit of camber in the road. The right side of his Odyssey vehicle is leaning over, and I wonder what that's going to do for traction off the line.
Looking at Christopherson's car as well, so have a look there at where the ruts were yesterday from the start. Different cars started from each of these different grid boxes, but Christopherson has parked the car outside of the dug-up area, so he straddled the rut effectively, and I think that will be to try and find some extra traction. Also look at Loeb, there's a section of road, Jenny, you can see where there's a road through the desert which curves across. He and Sainz have both got across. Do you see this little ridge either side in the road there? So I think traction in this run down, I think we're going to see hyperdrive as well, Jenny.
Yeah, remember, Sainz not used to being door banging. Basically, he's not a racer when it comes to having side-by-side contact. So for him, this is a little bit into the unknown. He's a rally driver. It's clean driving.
they were the team that I thought might do what Karuna suggested and flip the strategy, because with Kristoffersson being absolutely used to door-to-door racing, Sebastian Loeb as well, rallycross, world touring cars, you know, I thought maybe they'd send Laya Sands out, but they haven't. But Laya's getting ready, we're good to go. Time then for the first ever semi-final for Extreme E from Al Ula in Saudi Arabia. Who is going to get the whole shot? It's about a kilometre down towards turn 1. Are they going to use hyperdrive, that extra boost of power for 4 seconds? That could just give them the lead they need. How bad's the dust going to be? Nobody knows. We're about to find out. Here we go then. Green light either side of the grid. Loads of wheel spin from everybody. Kristoffersson looks to have got the best traction on the outside line. Going to try and squeeze across. Oh, Loeb getting a squeeze into Carlos Sainz. Always contact between them already. Sainz has managed to edge Loeb. Loeb drops in behind him. Kristoffersson side by side now. Sainz is pushing them out wide. They're running across the dirt. Carlos Sainz with the whole shot. The driver who hasn't got any racing experience is in the lead here on the dust on the inside line. Sebastian Loeb looking to try and find a way. Loeb moved all the way. Sainz, sorry, has moved all the way across the right. Kristoffersson's gone left. Going to try and carry the pace through. Watch now. Sainz is blocking off on the inside. Loeb's got him. X44 with a whole shot. In the background, has Kristoffersson got extra exit speed with that line through? It isn't. It's Loeb in the lead. Where's Kristoffersson?
Somehow,
no, Kristoffersson has.
Somehow they've managed to get through, and it's the Rosberg car that leads. But it's so difficult to see anything. Karoon, what is this like for a driver?
Well, I don't know, because I've never driven in dust layers, but look at Kristoffersson. He's broken away because of this dust. I think Loeb now, look, completely blind. And the biggest challenge here is you don't know where those rocks are. You don't know where these hazards that can trip the drivers up, as we saw in qualifying, are.
Kristoffersson with absolutely the right tactic. We cut down to the camera on the inside line and we could see the battle. Sainz and Loeb got themselves caught up in a fight between themselves. And Kristoffersson, with that extra pace, managed to edge them both. Look at the advantage now because of the dust.
Yeah, this is a critical phase here for Kristoffersson. He's got to make hay while he's got visibility and try and give his teammate, when she gets in the car, Molly Taylor, an advantage here.
So this is the big drop that they have to negotiate. A 100-metre drop at 45-degree angle. You can see the air that they got there for Kristoffersson. Now it's the turn of Loeb. Oh, a lovely jump.
Fantastic stuff. Look at the difference in dust on the different parts of the course. Yesterday we spoke about this. On down to the road section, the dust is much worse than it is in what I would call the heavy sand. And they're a long way back, Karoon. Acciona Sainz are a long way back.
Yeah, the gaps have really opened up, haven't they? And I think, you know, the big part of it now, I think Carlos has backed out of it a little bit just to get some visibility and get a clean run through. If you look at it, he's nearly 20 seconds now behind Kristoffersson, as we can see the graphic on the bottom left of your screen. Over 20 seconds, in fact. So climbing uphill here, this is, you know, again, you're going over this blind crest. But I can't even see the two leaders. You can see the trail of dust, but you can't actually see them. Sainz has dropped some way behind.
Now, this is something Sainz will be used to. As a driver in the Dakar, they set off at 1-minute intervals. The Dakar rally, if you're not familiar, is a long-distance rally. They do like 7 hours in the car sometimes. And it's actually held at the minute in Saudi Arabia as well. Saudi Arabia attracting some serious motorsport attention now. Formula E was there earlier on this year. So Sainz will be used to driving in the dust, but can he close that gap down? I'm not sure.
I think this is where the knowledge that they gained from yesterday and the shakedown will come into effect, because they have to pick a clean line. As you can see there, Loeb really struggling to get away from the sandstorm, in effect, that Rosberg car driven by Johan Kristoffersson has caused. You can see Loeb there almost unable to do anything.
It's really hard, isn't it? I think picking a braking point as well, Corinne, your braking points are quite visual. Okay, this isn't a circuit where you're going to nail the braking point to the 100th, but you still have a visual marker, and they're going to be missing.
And I think, you know, this race is showing us that the tactic off the line and that critical first braking phase into the first corner, where Kristoffersson, he chose a completely different line, didn't he? We had Sainz and Loeb across on the right. Kristoffersson stayed left, and the others, you know, the other teams, the Andretti team, the Hispano Suiza team, and JBXE will all be watching that. And I wonder where they're going to go, because you've got to do something different to your opposition, I think. And if they all end up where Kristoffersson did, well, then nobody gets an advantage. So there's lots to watch and play for next time around. But in this race, Kristoffersson is, I mean, he's doing a stellar job, isn't he? He's a driver, as you mentioned, did the fastest time. We believe yesterday, obviously, they got a penalty in qualifying, but he's he's looked so hooked up around this course straight away.
He's absolutely brilliant. If you're not familiar with Johan Kristoffersen, I'm sure we've got some people watching today for the very first time. 3 times FIA World Rallycross champion. That's a discipline where they drive on gravel and tarmac. He's also a rally driver. He's competed on snow, gravel, tar. He's won the Porsche Carrera Cup Scandinavia 3 times, touring cars in Scandinavia twice. Amazing.
Into the switch zone then. This is a first switch we'll see, so Kristoffersen will have to put on the limiter. You're seeing the Acciona Sainz car right now, but it's Kristoffersen who'll get to the switch zone first. He'll have to hammer on the pit limiter and hand over. Just wondering if we haven't seen Loeb for a while.
I'm thinking the same. We can see Loeb on the tracker, yeah, so Loeb's coming into the switch zone now, backing it in on the brake. So if they break the speed limit here, it's 5 seconds per kilometre an hour. Yesterday we saw some massive penalties, and if they leave early, button left 0.5 early yesterday, that's 25-second penalty plus 0.5.
Yeah, that's, I mean, they're quite big penalties, to be honest, so it's more important for the drivers to be careful here. Molly Taylor, we can see running across to jump in and swap out for Kristoffersen. They've got, look at the advantage they've got. Sainz is just coming in to the switch. I'll tell you what, having raced in categories where you have to switch around, it's quite a challenge. When you've got a helmet on and gloves on, to get the seatbelts done properly, you have to make sure the seatbelts don't go underneath the hands device, the head and neck protection device you could see there. And it's so important. You see Sebastian Loeb helping out Gutierrez with her seatbelts. But you've got to make sure you're comfortable, because if you don't get the seatbelts right, A, it's a safety issue, B, it's a real comfort issue for the driver getting in.
45 seconds is the minimum time in that pit stop. So obviously they've seen it at Rosberg and they've already gone out. Kristoffersen standing there, nothing he can do now. He's got to have faith in Molly Taylor, his teammate. Loeb and Gutierrez have done their switch, so Gutierrez now in the car unlimited. Let's go down to Kristoffersen and hear from him.
Johan, a substantial lead after what looked like a perfect start.
Yeah, the start itself was maybe not the best. I mean, but I had the worst grid slot, so I had a good plan, and yeah, stuck to the plan. And from there on, I just feel sorry for the guys behind. After the third corner, there's not really a race anymore. It's just trying to survive, and I'm happy to see that Carlos and Loeb here is no one is crashing and get hurt.
Brilliant to watch. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We think we saw Sebastian Loeb using his hyperdrive out of, well, sorry, would have been Gutierrez, wouldn't it, out of the switch zone, and that's because that is the longest, fastest straight. It's actually from the switch zone to turn 1.
So what we should explain is hyperdrive. They get 4 seconds of extra power to use, and they can use it tactically. The drivers can use it wherever they want, whenever they want, and they get an extra 4 seconds of power. The best place to use it is obviously on a run up to a long straight or a hill, because it just builds that momentum early on to help you on your way.
Karun, looking at that start, we saw people, basically the top qualifier in each of these 3 finals has chosen the inside line, and I'm not convinced it's the best grid slot. You know, we saw Loeb go off the line and have to cross those 2 tiny humps. He then lost time. Sainz and him got in that little battle. I'm wondering if the outside line is the best place to be, and Hansen and Munnings have got that inside line for the next one. I wonder if they'll be looking at this and thinking about their tactics.
We'll see when we get to the next one. But I don't think it really matters. I actually think if you watch the throttle graphs and the way, you know, we can see these wonderful graphics here in green, which explain just how the drivers are applying the accelerator. When you watch it off the line, they're all doing something different, and that's to do with the uneven surface. You know, we can see it's quite soft sand here. There's some parts where it's more packed in. There's some bits where she's about to drop steeply downhill, a 100-meter drop here. You can see the dust up ahead. Now, the issue, I think, is more, you know, where do you pick your positioning in terms of the surface and how you're accelerating through it. See the red light flashing there on the back of Cristina Gutierrez's X44 car, Veggie.
Gutierrez going really well here. If they make the final, these guys, Jenny, I reckon they're a good bet for grid play, because Lewis has got a number of fans out there, and they'll be able to pick their slots. But Karun said we're not really sure whether that's going to help very much. It's about finding that traction away from the line.
You could be picking the wrong slot for all you know, because this is the very first one. And I know the people in the next semi-final will be looking at this, as you've said, and gaining the information and making out what to do, decisions based on that. Karun.
Molly Taylor's doing a great job. She's extending the lead here over Gutierrez. I mean, she's She's got a great rallying pedigree, Molly Taylor. She's done a whole load of rallying. You speak to anyone out in Australia, and she's a name they're all very familiar with there. Very experienced, very quick indeed, and she's doing a super job. I mean, I noticed obviously Nico Rosberg is there in Saudi Arabia in the desert, fully integrated in with his team, and he'll be delighted with how this opening race has gone.
Yeah, contacted her through her website. Contacted Christopherson through Instagram and just said, hey, should we have a chat? Do you fancy racing for me? And this is about making new connections between all the different disciplines of motorsport.
I love the idea. You know, when you get a message from someone that says you've had a message from someone you do not follow, do you want to accept this message? And, you know, Johan's probably looking at Nico Rosberg and it's, really?
Someone's pulling my leg.
Yeah, but it's great that, you know, this is the era we're in, isn't it? You know, what's the quickest way I can get hold of him? I'll drop him a DM. And here he is, you know, leading with his teammate Molly Taylor. Molly, who won the Australian Rally Championship outright. We're not talking ladies champion. She thrashed all the blokes, and that's fantastic.
Yeah, her time yesterday really impressive, and she's showing again today her skill and aptitude for Extreme E. She was one of the, I suppose, hottest catches.
This is a great shot to just show how, you know, we're in this amazing UNESCO heritage site there, but you can see the course, you know, so undulating, and this is a part of the real challenge. But we're about to come to this bit where you know, you've got the soft sand, but you can see just from the level of dust, even within that, there's some bits which are harder packed than others. Here, you know, I think this is where having some rallying experience, because obviously, as you mentioned, we've got a lot of rallycross drivers.
Yeah.
But the surface in rallycross is compacted. There's a lot of science that goes into compacting the underneath of the top surface that you see in rallycross, and she now comes into this final section here where it is quite a hard surface.
Brilliant drive by Johan Kristoffersson off the start to get the whole shot. He took that wide line, carried the speed around the outside of Loeb and Sainz, who were battling it out, but it's Molly Taylor who brings the car home to win the first ever semi-final. They book a space in the final later on today. Is Sebastian Loeb and Cristina Gutierrez going to take that P2, Jenny? What do you think?
Yeah, at the moment, they're 29 seconds. That was the gap behind them. So it'll be up to Hamilton's team to, yeah, they're just on that road section, so they'll swing it round to the left and get towards the end of this race. Lewis Hamilton and Nico Rosberg. It's a battle we've seen many times in Formula One for a world title. This one for a place in the finals. And it's Loeb and Gutierrez who crossed the line. Gutierrez, a great drive from her, just not able to close that gap to the lead car, but finishing in second.
They will know now that the absolute crucial phase of the final is going to be the start, and I think all the work they'll do now between there and the final will be looking at start tactics. Karun.
And they booked their slot. Well, we should, you know, let people understand this is obviously the semi-final, so the top two who finish in the semi-final, i.e. the Rosberg team and the Hamilton team, have now booked their spot into the final of this round. The Acciona team, they're not completely out of it, are they? Because there could be a situation where they end up in the final as well, depending on how things play out.
No, I think they're done now. From the semi-final, they're out, but that means they have got their finishing position guaranteed. So by being in the semi-final, that means that they drop. I think they end up in P5 or 6.
Yep, I'll go with that.
Yeah, because the winner from the crazy race will go through to the final. Command centre, slightly calmer at the end of the race. We're learning along with you guys at home.
We certainly are. This is a brand new championship. And you can see the drivers just looking down at those monitors. They're just taking in all the information they possibly can. And those three cars, I love it. One of the mechanics said they tried to clean the car after this round and they decided not to bother. Let's go down to the paddock and speak to our winners. This is Extreme E.
Johan, congratulations. A fantastic run for both you and Molly.
Yeah, I mean, Molly did a good job, just take the car to the finish. So, yeah, we have to be very happy with that. We had a small issue yesterday, so was very happy to just being able to cruise to the finish after the first intense 200 meters. Yeah, was a very, very good one, and try to be a bit more steady and calm in the pit lane as well, not to do any mistakes.
Fantastic. And Nico's here as well. Nico Rosberg, I must ask you, you must be very proud of your team right now.
I mean, it's been an exciting start to Sunday, and yeah, I mean, Johan and Molly did a good job out there, but it's early days. I mean, it's still only semi-final, so now we need to put our heads back together and look at everything to work out a plan for the final.
Well, thank you very much. You're through to the final. Congrats.
Layla Anna Lee with the interviews there of Nico Rosberg and Johan Kristoffersen. I can't tell you how many times I've heard him say it's early days. He always said that when speaking to you in the championship. This are the semi-final results. You can see in third place, it is Sainz and Sanz with a 106.82. Second was Loeb and Gutierrez, 28 seconds behind the leaders. And then Kristoffersen and Taylor winning the semi-final and going through. The top two teams go through to the final later on today. Congratulations to our teams, Rosberg and Hamilton teams.
Have a look back then at the start, first of all. This was interesting. Sainz was on the right-hand side of the road, look, and got into it. At first, it was him versus Kristoffersen. He pushes Kristoffersen wide. Now Sainz moves to the inside. Sainz, with no race experience, very wily here. Blocks on here, but look on the left-hand side. They won't even be able to see it. Maybe Kristoffersen, he undercuts them on the exit. So with that lovely wide line in Karun, that was a mega bit of driving.
Yeah, he did a really smart switch back there. And that, as soon as he got in front, he was in control of the situation because the two behind were immediately struggling with visibility.
Very difficult, very challenging conditions. Not something these drivers are really used to or have experienced before, but they adapted particularly well. Kristoffersen and Taylor putting in a great drive. Loeb and Gutierrez going through with them, but it was Sainz and Sanz who go out.
Brilliant stuff from the semi-final. Let's have a look. Okay, we're going to go and chat with Carlos Sainz.
Carlos Sainz, we've just seen you have a little mini debrief with your team there. What is it that you're saying?
No, just plain, you know, how was basically the start. We have quite a good start, then we may press the overboost a little bit early, and then, yeah, we get in front, but then before the first gate, I touched a little bit with Seb, and then Christopher passed, and then I have dust incredible. I couldn't drive anymore.
We saw, we are aware that you were a little concerned about the switch as well earlier on. How did that go for you?
Repeat?
The switch, how was that for you?
No, we knew what was going to happen, so it was basically no surprise confirmed. You know, whoever was reaching the first gate first, it was going to win, and then it was a matter of gap from 10 to 15 seconds because you cannot drive in the dust. But this we knew it was going to happen. It hasn't been any surprise. Unfortunately, it didn't work up to plan, but we are satisfied.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Carlos Sainz, the Matador, showing his World Dakar and World Rally Championship experience. Let's take a look back then at that race, and we'll get Karun Chandok, our expert analyst, and Andrew Coley alongside me in the commentary box. So this is the start of this. And as we spoke about the squeeze, Carlos getting a little bit of contact. He won't have done that before, Karun.
No, it's super close, wasn't it, there? They went through that first gate, and then this is where the critical phase. Look at Kristoffersen. He's slightly out of our shot here on the left-hand side, but you can see the roof of the Odessi vehicle there on the left. But look, he's chosen to go left. The other two have gone right at this stage. And this is the important bit. Watch here. He's way across and then cuts underneath both these. So he's actually third at that first point where they turned right. But because the other two have gone drifting off to the left-hand side, he's able to switch across to the right, and he comes out of that first right-hander in the lead, jumping over there. And once he got in front, at this point, you could see low, big jump behind, but there's just no visibility. And a very, very smart driving there from Kristoffersen. But that's instinct. I don't think you can plan that. You know, we were talking about before saying the other people in the following two races are going to be watching. I don't think you can plan for this because you're so reliant. That move only worked because Sainz moved across to the right-hand side. Watch this here. Sainz is way off on the left. We're on board here with Sebastian Loeb. And now Sainz is coming across, he's coming across, he's coming across. So Loeb is stuck, he's committed now to this path. The Kristoffersen Rosberg car is way over on the left-hand side. Loeb at this point thinks, ooh, I'm in the lead. I'm turning into this right hand in the lead, hits that bump, loses momentum. Now watch for the right-hand side as they go over there, and there we go.
committed from Kristoffersen as well. Very, very small gap to fire that through. Brilliant drive. So this, that's the crest, so we're on board with Sainz. You know what? The onboard is the first time we've really seen that crest that's just after the start. It's one of those things that from a long way away, you just don't see it.
Yeah, now watch it. He's got clear visibility here, and as he's aiming for that gate, but he's in the middle. So Carlos is stuck. He's being in the middle is kind of the worst place to be because you have no flexibility. And then look at that. As soon as it doesn't matter who you are, as soon as you get the dust in your face, you have to back out of it. And Carlos, now, he's just trying to find a path of the most visibility, unsuccessfully, unfortunately.
You've got to find, I suppose, and utilise that first part of the section, which is very compacted, very hard sand, where you don't have it flying up in your eyes. Make the most of that opportunity, and it could be good for you. What a great first semi-final. More to come. Well, you can see we are in the deserts for the Prix. And what drama we've already had. The first semi-final done, but now it is time for the crazy race. Andrew Coley alongside me with our expert Karun Chandok to guide you through what is going to be another thriller. And the paddock is a busy place to be, Andrew.
Yeah, get themselves prepped, ready for this one. 3 cars in it, but only 1 place available in the final. So absolutely critical to win. You know, you can't settle for P2 here. Only a win is good enough. Interested to see what they do tactically, although looking at the crash helmets we can see inside these cars, I think we've got a good idea already. Again, they've gone for the drivers who are used to racing because they're going to want to win that race down to the first corner. So this is your grid. Oliver Bennett and Christine Giampaolo Zonca. Consistent and quick yesterday, no major problems for them. Saw them in this position. Timmy Hansen and Katie Munnings. Puncture yesterday for Katie. She drove brilliantly to get it round to the finish. And then Jensen Button and Michaela Arlen-Kotlinski. They had a stop on track in their first session, which slowed them up, and then a penalty in their second session. But they're still in it, and they can still win it and make it through to the final.
Let's go and get some interviews and hear from our drivers and Layla Annalee.
We are on the pre-grid ahead of the crazy race. Jensen Button on my right, ready to go ahead. Jensen, I'm sure you saw the semi-final. What are your plans to get ahead here?
Just go really fast.
Fast?
Go really fast and lead into turn 2, and then you just basically just cruise it from there, I've seen. So, yeah, I mean, it's all about the start and getting into turn 2. So, yeah, it's exciting. And then you just sit, if you're not in the lead, you sit in the dust. But if you are in the lead, it's awesome. You just cruise around and wave at the fans.
Enjoy. Thank you very much. We also have over here on the grid, let's run round and meet them. The door is open, ready. Oliver Bennett should be in this car, I believe. If you could just open up for me. Oliver, if you could just open your visor for me. It is Oliver, good.
Yeah, it is.
How are you feeling ahead of this? Obviously head-to-head, this one.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I mean, I'm in the middle of the course. I've got quite a good line over turn 1, so I'm just going to go for it into the first corner and see where we end up.
Thank you very much. We look forward to watching you. And finally, for Andretti United, Timmy Hansen will be in the car. It's all the boys in this lineup. Timmy, how are you feeling? What line are you choosing for the start here?
Yeah, I feel good. I'm going to go on the right side. Yeah, just thinks that's the best chance to get first into turn 1, and after that we have a long run down to the chicane, and it looked like in the final that was kind of where it was decided. So yeah, I've got a couple plans in my head of how to do it, but it's important to get out first out of that chicane, not to be in the dust.
Thank you very much. Clearly everyone's mind is on the all-important start, but it's Extreme E, anything could happen. Enjoy the crazy race.
Well, this is where the crazy race is going to be taking place. Same track we've been using for the last couple of days. It's developing a course. There's a lot of sand and dirt and dust out there. A few ruts in places as well. They're all talking about this long run down to the first corner. I'd say the most focused right there was Timmy Hansen. Everybody else looking pretty relaxed about it. Timmy's done, well, he does a number of starts a day in his normal discipline. I wonder what Jensen Button's going to think about this one. It's going to be a bit different, isn't it, Jenny, to his normal starts?
door banging is going to be incredibly difficult. This, as you can see on the map, is the drop, and then they'll come back out of there. But yeah, for Jenson Button, he's got to get his head down and really try and push at the start. All of the teams have got to do that, haven't they?
Karun, what's your thoughts on the start there? I mean, we saw the interviews. I don't know that anybody's looking too stressed, but I'd say max focus from Timmy Hansen.
I mean, he's now quite experienced, isn't he, in the world of rallycross. His father, of course, a legend in the rallycross world, Kenneth Hansen. I was with Jenson last weekend, and he was very quick to point out that he's got some of the best off-road drivers on the planet on this grid, and then him. So he, I think he was, shall we say, managing his own expectations for this.
Nicely realistic.
Yeah, it's cool though, isn't it? I love the fact he's very honest about it so far. He does seem to be enjoying himself. I think he'll be enjoying it more when he is on the pace, but he knows he's got to learn to get on the pace. And yeah, he's up against some absolutely legendary names. We're going to head down to the command center where the teams are getting ready. See the cars pulling up towards the grid.
The command center, welcome. We are in the Alula Desert, Saudi Arabia for our Desert X Prix, and it's time for the crazy race. Let's meet our teams. We have Andretti United Extreme E, Hispano Suiza, and JBXE. Our racers are set and ready to race.
So, ready to go here in Saudi Arabia for this, the second semi-final. This, the crazy race. Remember, this is a slingshot. Only one of these drivers will get the chance to go through and take part in that final. So you can see as they line up, it is Jenson Button and his team on the left, JBXE. In the middle, we have Oliver Bennett, Hispano Suiza Excite Energy team. And that faces the man, Timmy Hansen, 2019 World Champion and FIA World Rallycross in Andretti United Extreme E. Zach Brown in the command center, the boss of that team, also the boss of McLaren F1, and the nerves just starting to build a little.
Yeah, I'm getting excited for this one. Bennett in the middle of the grid. Interesting to see where they're, you know, on the grid slots. We know what happened last time. Jenson Button in that outside slot. That is where Johan Kristoffersson took the lead from in the first race. Can Jenson Button do the same thing? If he took the lead, Karun, in theory it's going to be very hard to get past him. So, you know, although he doesn't have the same off-road experience, if he can get the whole shot, it could be done. He could book a slot in the final.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Jenson will make up for the lack of off-road experience with just pure racing experience, wheel to wheel. You know, he's done two and a half decades of it. And as we saw in the first heat, your positioning on the run to turn 2. One thing is about turn 1, but that's a fast right-hander. It's really where you're going to be on the run up the hill towards turn 2. That's the critical point. And Jenson will be able to engage that racer's brain and think about positioning, because you got to look relative to the other two. I mean, listen, Timmy Hansen, who we're looking at here, is the favorite going into this. But it's not a given. You know, it's the path to turn 2, which we're looking down from here, is a wide open. You know, you've got so many options in terms of how you arrive there, and that's the beauty of this racing championship, is there's no fixed track. You've got to arrive at the gate at turn 2, but you can choose any path you want to get there.
How many times would you have watched race 1 start back if you were in the car now?
To be honest, a couple times, but after that, you know, you wouldn't, because it's so dependent on what the other people do. You can't predict what the other drivers are going to do. So you've got to have a vague idea and a vague plan of what you want and where you want to arrive at in terms of the line. You've got to also keep an eye for where these bumps are, because we spotted a couple of bumps on that run up there for Loeb and Sainz from the first heat, the first semi-final. And I think that's more the things that they've got to watch out for, is what the hazards are in case you do get caught in the dust and you can't see them.
I love the idea of the plan, because you kind of visualize, don't you, what ideally you'd like to happen. But when everybody else is also visualizing that, and then somebody gets in your door, the plan can get torn up pretty early.
1 minute.
1 minute to go. Hansen takes a deep breath. This is his regular start procedure that we see in Rallycross all the while. shouts, thumps himself on the thighs.
Wow.
Sometimes, if it's a big one, in the final, I'm expecting to see Hansen start shouting in there. It's just getting himself in the zone.
Bit Matthew McConaughey from The Wolf of Wall Street.
Well, he's just getting himself
it.
all fired up. Different things for different people, isn't it? Some people, it's a deep breath and get yourself calm and think where you want to be. Some people want to get themselves in that zone. I'm excited.
Really excited. See what happens. We know the run down to turn 2 absolutely crucial. So Timmy, Oliver and Jenson Button will need to focus. They'll need to look and they'll need to try and get the best start away that they can.
15 seconds.
Ready to go in 15. So the desert hosts our crazy race, the first one in Extreme E. And we will see which of these 3 cars manage to get their place and book their slots in the final. And we are off, so all 3 cars trying to find some traction. The sand plumes coming up behind them. It looks like Hansen's got the lead straight out the block. Jenson Button coming through on the left, and then last is the Hispano-Suiza. But a really nice start there for Timmy Hansen. All those years of experience really gaining for him, and he's managed to get a clear lead. That's what he needed, but to the left and right, both the Button and Bennett have taken their lines. They've tried to find some clear spaces. They head down to the marker. This is a slingshot right as they're going to head through the first gate where it comes together. So you've got to be careful. This is where the contact happened last time out. Hansen swinging the back end round, and he goes through first. If Bennett's really getting closer, though, it looks like Button's lost a bit of momentum here, and Hansen just out in front. He'll get the clear air, so you can see your 1, 2, 3, but Bennett is trying to close back.
Yeah, I think Jenson backed out of it there as they got to that right-hander. He for a moment, I thought he could have got around the outside of Bennett, but Bennett carried a huge amount of momentum over that crest and got in front. Timmy Hansen, though, broken away. He's done exactly what he and Andretti would have wanted to do. Jenson Button, in that interview with Leila, was saying, just got to get to the second corner first and I'll be fine. Hasn't quite worked out for him in that way, but still a long way to go. You know, I think what will be interesting is, of course, they've got to do the pit stops, right? We've seen people have issues with that previously. And there's plenty of, you know, unpredictability in terms of the course for these guys to navigate.
I tell you what, Bennett was being quite ballsy in the dust out of turn 2 there. He hung onto the back of Hansen quite closely, and he's still not that far back. If you think last time, the gap here was 10 seconds between Kristoffersson and P2, and it's only 5, so Bennett's pretty committed in the dust here. Jenson did well there, putting out to the outside, trying to find himself a little bit of vision. You can see him at the top of the hill now, about to come off the drop. Go on, Jenson, get it in. Good lad. But in terms of, visibility, I don't know, mate. If Bennett can be a bit nearer, the pace of the girls is a little bit more unknown in this, Jenny.
Yeah, I'm pretty impressed with how Bennett's been able to stay with Hansen, bearing in mind the quality of Hansen. You know, he's a world champion of past in World Rallycross, so he's got a ton of experience. Bennett experience in Rallycross as well. But these two look like, you know, they could duke it out if they can get just a little mistake from Hansen potentially.
Yeah, Hansen here, you can see, look at the graphic on the right-hand side, fully committed on the throttle there. He's very, very quick, isn't he? I mean, I'm slightly amazed at actually how hard he's pushing, given the fact that he's got track position. And, you know, really, only the winner books a place in the final. So I would have thought he'd have a slightly more conservative approach, but clearly this guy only knows one mode.
Flat out, yeah, flat out, fully lit. I think Timmy's trying to give Katie the best chance he can. And we spoke to Timmy and Katie a while ago, didn't we, Jenny, via Zoom, and Timmy had said, look, I will take the start because I've done starts. What he wants to do is hand over to Katie, whose entire background is in rally driving. And if he can give Katie a clear view of the road ahead, that gives her the best possible opportunity to capitalise on this gap that Timmy is building. And we said about the pace of the female drivers yesterday, they all had their own little issues. Michaela Arlen-Kotlinski, Button's teammate, had to stop on track. On her second run, she looked great. Katie Munnings had a puncture. Christine Giampo-Lozonka was consistent all day. Jenny, we're not really sure which of these three lady drivers is going to be the weapon.
well, they're all going to have to go out there and give it full commitment. That's the part of the track which really ground up yesterday and dug in, so very difficult. You can see the cars just sort of almost splashing around in the sand, and it's very similar to a really wet race, Karun, for some of these drivers.
Well, you can almost hear it. You can hear the suspension travel there as it bounces around, but you know, these cars are built to do this, as we see Hansen now coming up over this crest. I mean, what an amazing venue this is. It's quite incredible, but he's not taking in the sights and sounds, is he? He's very, very committed with the wheel working, but he's got a very controlled aggression going on there in the cockpit. He's, you know, this is clearly a driver who's comfortable with the car moving around underneath him.
Timmy's career started in single-seaters before he moved on to rallycross, and he really, moving to rallycross, he found the loose stuff hard at first, and has had to learn that first couple of seasons, but now obviously nothing to learn, coming in here with a 30-second lead over Bennett and Gianpaolo Zonca. Going to get the car stopped before that sign, and then down towards the switch zone for Katie Munnings to take over.
Yeah, just pushing it into the switch zone. I just wonder if they managed to get on the limiter at exactly the right time. Bennett coming round now. He'll try and get into the switch zone as quickly as possible. So that's the Hansen car. Katie Munnings there, ready to get into the car. So she'll run round. They'll both are very similar size, actually, Munnings and Hansen. So no insert for them in the car that has to be thrown out to make sure that the next driver in is comfortable enough. So they've practiced these switches a lot. 45 seconds is the time that they have to use up. If they go over that, they won't get penalised, but obviously it's a huge penalty to them.
Hansen and Munnings managed to get their time down to 25 seconds, maybe a little bit less when they were practicing, and Karun, that gives them space to make a mistake. You know, you don't want to be doing 40 seconds and only just making it. You want to be doing what Katie's doing here, which is sitting and waiting for someone to give you the thumbs up to go.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, 45 seconds doesn't sound like a lot, but it's pretty comfortable, to be honest, for a driver swap. I mean, when, you know, we would do Le Mans, we'd often do it in 22, 23 seconds as driver swaps, and that was the norm, really. So, yeah, I think it's, you know, you can't hang around, but it's certainly comfortable enough, and you can see Hansen already out of his car. Plenty of high fives all around, and Katie Munnings on her way.
So Katie, probably with that full 30-second lead, will get some splits on this second lap to give an idea. So background in rally driving, European ladies champion. She made her debut in the JWRC last year, and yesterday had to deal with a puncture. Look how low the sun is as well, going through the valleys here, and you see that the sun and the shade. We talked about this a little bit yesterday, Jenny, but it can be quite hard to sight exactly what you're looking for. Excite Energy heading out as well.
Yeah, different visor options you can see there. Gianpaolo Zonca not really using her visor at the moment, and different people like to have different shielding for their eyes, just depending on the setup. So you can see there, Olin Kotolinski visor straight down as well. Let's go down to Layla once again and hear from the leaders, Timmy Hansen.
At the grid just before the race began, you told us you had a start plan. Looks like it went perfectly to plan.
Yeah. But, you know, there's like the procedure and what we want to do. And of course, I did that, but you can never expect, like, the start was mega after that. And, you know, that was even better than planned. So I was happy, like, being clear, going through that chicane. Like, being out of the dust is such a massive advantage. And then the lap was really good. By the end, I heard I had a big gap. So actually, I was taking a bit less risk towards the end, but still trying to increase the gap for Katie, you know, in case something happens. Like yesterday, we had a puncture, so the race is still not over.
We have a great gap. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Timmy will be wanting to get back to the command centre. So now if I'm Katie in the car and I'm driving, I want an update on what the gap is. Timmy said he's managing basically how much risk he took. He risked it at first, got a gap. Now they need to be on the radio to Katie going, look, it's a steady 30. You're good. Lift.
Yeah,
big drop here. Go on, Karun, yeah.
She's going down the hill here. You can see it's blind, as it, you know, it's a bit of a leap of faith, really, isn't it? You get over that crest, dropping 100 meters downhill and then through the rocks here. But they've got a comfortable lead. She's sort of maintained that gap, isn't it? It's staying around that 30-second mark, which is where it was when Hansen and Bennett got out.
Button using his hyperdrive now. We're actually seeing Bennett, but Button's just used his hyperdrive to give him a little bit more boost. 4 seconds of extra power. It's Bennett going down that long ski slope.
Yeah, it's not Button, of course. It's now Michaela Arlin Kodlinski.
The races are so quick, just one lap each. And then they switch.
They
Apologies.
do, yeah. But Michaela in there now using that hyperdrive. I think it would have been the run up to turn 2 there. But yeah, just watching her now, she's coming up to that big drop herself. This is a great camera angle, as you can really start to see how the tires are trying to dig through that sand and just try and launch them on their path. But she, at the moment, some way behind the Hispano-Suiza car.
Katie Munnings for Andretti United out front, 100 kilometres an hour through here. She's got clear vision. There's a big braking zone here to a fairly violent bump, which we saw Molly Taylor yesterday absolutely launch the RXR machine over. The most committed point of the weekend was 100% Molly Taylor yesterday, which was awesome. This was where Katie, of course, picked up the puncture yesterday. She came around the left hairpin, and suddenly we saw the rear flailing dirt up into the air. No such problems now. She can really manage this now to the finish.
Yeah, she'll be delighted not to be able to have to do this with a puncture, because it was spitting up sand absolutely everywhere. Gave her a real challenge which she didn't need, an extra headache. Remember, there have been such limited running for the drivers coming into this that they don't know this course. They're learning it each time they go out.
And that's a really good point, because you know, obviously Katie Munnings now nearly 30 seconds ahead, and you know, on one hand you think, well, she could just cruise it, but it's actually really important practice for her for the final. You know, she's got to try and get as much mileage as possible and try and get an understanding of it. They're learning so much as a driver. You know, every kilometer they're doing in these cars at this early stage of the Extreme E Championship on the whole, they're learning. And therefore, for her, this is actually really good practice for the final as well.
If you think about yesterday, their first run yesterday, they're thinking, we're not going to make the final, we're done, we've had a puncture, this is game over. Yeah, Timmy was disappointed, Kate was disappointed. Now Zach Brown is standing in there looking at his 2 young signings and going, we're going to make the final. I don't want to give them the commentator's curse just yet, but what a way to turn your weekend around. You know, with the problems for the others, they ended up making it through to the crazy race, and at the minute, they're in the box seat to make it through to the final. What a great turnaround for them.
Yeah, it just shows that actually, like we said yesterday, never give up, because you just, in this race, there's opportunities to get through in different ways. You've got grid play coming up later as well, so that's another kind of whole element to it.
I'll tell you what, I wouldn't bet against Timmy Hansen when it comes to the start of the final.
Absolutely, a rocket ship start for Timmy Hansen. Into the final corner goes Katie Munnings. Only one car going through from the crazy race, and it's going to be the Andretti United machine. Katie at the wheel now. Timmy Hansen having given her a great lead on the way in, and they are in the final. Fantastic performance. There'll be big relief there. I'm surprised not to see a bit more emotion on Katie's face. Maybe she's just relieved that it was a clean run after yesterday. Down towards the final corner comes Giampaola Zonca. Had a quick look in her mirrors there just to check. Going to turn into the left-hander now. A good performance from her and Bennett this weekend. Yes, you see, fist pump, they're pleased. Okay, they don't make the final, but they came P2 in their semi-final, and that's a great consistent start. No damage to the car, loads of experience gained.
That's right, I think that gives them 5th place in the points, doesn't it, straight away at this early stage. So they've got points in the bag, 12 points on the board from today's race. So that's, you know, that's a solid start to their season.
Yeah.
Button and Arlen Kotlinski's car coming to the finish now. Arlen Kotlinski resting the car just through this last couple of corners, and tricky weekend for them, Jenny.
Yeah, really difficult weekend for them. They obviously had a tech issue when they went out for their first run. They've been trying to claw things back. Got a huge penalty, almost 3-minute penalty, for just not slowing down enough when they went into the switch zone yesterday. So all in all, they came to the championship a lot later than others. A big learning weekend for them. And when we go off to the next race, I think it puts them in a much better position. Just spinning the car away. Good job.
That'll be straight into cooling mode. They'll add the cooling kit onto the battery, allow the motors to be cooled down by the onboard stuff. Karun?
Yeah, and this is one of the biggest challenges with a single day of action like they have here. We had this in Formula E as well. It was so critical what you did after your practice or qualifying a race, as much as what you do during it. So, yeah, massively important stuff here.
Coming here over to speak to the winner here today, through to the final after the crazy race. Timmy, how are you feeling? You gave your teammate the perfect start there.
Yeah, that's awesome. And she she took it home to the finish. You know, we told her on the radio, take it easy and bring it home. And yeah, she did a perfect job. So I'm really happy. Now it's the first ever Extreme E race, and we're in the final. So one race to go.
And we are here joined by Zach Brown, the team owner. Zach, how are you feeling right now? You must be proud.
Very excited. Drivers have done a great job. Team's done a great job. It's been a solid weekend. You know, we had one tire issue, which Katie drove through. So to be in the final and be no worse than third is a great way to start the race here.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So that's Zach Brown from McLaren, but also the man in charge of Andretti United as well. Let's take a look at those results then. You can see in third place it was Button and Arlen Kotelinski. They were down by just over a minute in the end, but steep learning curve for them. Bennett and Gianpaolo Zonca, 30 seconds back in the end after a really good start from Bennett, just couldn't claw it back. And Hansen and Munnings winning their heat and going through to the final alongside the cars of Rosberg and Hamilton, Christopherson, Taylor and Loeb and Gutierrez.
Zach Brown clearly very pleased with that result. Fantastic recovery after yesterday's issues. Well, off the start, Timmy Hansen, this was him getting himself fired up before it, and fired up he was. It was the perfect start. We didn't see such a good run for Loeb from that side. They have to just cross that slight hump in the road, but he was clearly in front, and it was a battle then for P2 between Bennett and Button went really wide trying to find a way through.
Yeah, and that's the trade-off, where, you know, you try and take a wider trajectory to give yourself more speed through the corner, but it means you're doing more distance, and I think Jensen just lost that trade-off there. He went so wide that by the time he came back to the line, Bennett had jumped ahead of him.
Hansen came in for the driver change with a 30-second lead and jumped on the radio straight away, Jenny, to manage Katie. Perfect strategy.
Absolutely. Jensen Button just not quite having the rub of it today, but they'll come back better and stronger for it. He handed over to Michaela Arlen Kotelinski, his teammate, and the switch clean for all three drivers. Timmy Hansen, as you say, giving the lead to his teammate Katie Munnings, who went out there and did a really good job maintaining that lead, pushing all the way, coming up to that big drop-off. It's going to be nerve-wracking, but that team, Andretti United Extreme E, gave themselves every chance in the first leg and second leg. They brought it home, did everything they needed to do. There she is, crossing the line, as you can see, and taking the win to give herself a chance, and Timmy, of winning this first ever Extreme E race.
Fantastic performance there. Clean run, nicely managed. We've got our finalists for the first ever round of Extreme E.
Good stuff. What a lineup it is as well. We've got so many championships in there, so much experience. Let's have a look then at the replay of the start. You can see that Timmy Hansen out on the left of your screen, but to the right manages to get the lead, and he even avoided taking that ridge totally, didn't he?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, he was on his way, but we're on board with Bennett. Look to the left. This is where Button, I think, went way across there to the left-hand side. If you look at Bennett in the dust, he's done a much shorter distance, despite the fact that he was in Hansen's dust. So at this stage, as they're coming up to this gate, we're on board with Bennett. Jensen's to our left, and when they get to this apex, look how much shorter the distance is that Bennett's doing, and that allowed him to sneak in front when they came to that gate.
And bad visibility for Jensen as well, of course, coming through behind just at the apex where we've been hoping he can then come around the outside, as we saw Christopherson successfully do in the first race. Unfortunately, it didn't pay off this time.
Bennett just sitting there in a pile of sand behind the lead car is so difficult for him to cope with that.
He did well in the dust at first. The problem is once he got into the more technical part of the circuit, then you're struggling to pick your line and your braking points.
Yeah, but I don't think that's just us. I think Hansen was just faster.
Yeah.
I think ultimately, you know, Timmy Hansen did a super job. Look here, this is Bennett going across to the right, and he's picked, you know, this path of best visibility, really, but it's also the shortest path to this apex. So he's already thinking, right, I've got a tighter radius, I might have to lift more than the others, but I'm going for this inside. He can't see, but he stayed very committed on the throttle, I've got to say, as he went over that bump. And at this point, he's already clear of Jensen Button.
Nicely done. But it's hard work, isn't it? If you look at that, that's what he really was committed, wasn't he? Through that second section to hold on to save. It's only a 5-second gap. This is the run up the hill and moved out Karun to find himself some visibility.
Yeah, and did a great job avoiding those little rocks and those tufts that were in the ground as well. Jensen's windscreen already looks dirty, and this was before the start. But he'll be having a word with his team about cleaning that for the next time. But this is Jensen. Now look, he chooses to go left here and stay wide, and you can see just how much more distance up ahead. Vaguely you can make out where the gate is, just ahead of Timmy Hansen, and he's now at this point, Jensen's so much wider than Bennett, who's just snuck ahead by doing a much shorter distance. And then this plume of dust, Jensen no doubt would have had to lift off at that stage.
So to show you those results again and recap, Button blindsided totally at the start, and Arlen Kotelinski managing to be 1 minute and 6 down, and then it was Bennett, Gianpaolo Zonca 30 seconds behind our winners of the Crazy Race, Hansen and Munnings, who find themselves going through to the grand final. A first ever Extreme E race will be taking place later on this morning, and we are looking forward to seeing what Hansen and Munnings can do. Let's go down and hear the interview with our winner, Katie Munnings from Andretti United Extreme E.
Joined now by Katie Munnings. Katie, your teammate handed you a brilliant start and you capitalised.
Yeah, I mean, you know, credits to Timmy. That was an amazing start. Straight off the start line, he was so fast. His rallycross days are really coming in as we thought they might, so it's really exciting to see. Yeah, he left me in a really nice position. It was just, you know, keeping a lid on it, get to the finish. So that was just what was in my head and what my engineer was feeding me all the time. So I'm really happy. I'm really happy. You know, we started with a puncher and we thought on qualifying one, this might be it for the weekend, you know? And to have made it to the final now is like, yes, go team.
You mentioned there keeping a lid on it. That's exactly what I wanted to ask you. Was the next set of instructions just to go smooth, go steady, finish the race?
Exactly, yeah. You just kind of manage the gap. So they feed me how many seconds lead we have, and you know it doesn't matter if it's dropping a bit. You just need to stay in front and not take any risk. The track's getting worse and worse by the minute with rocks in it now and some ruts and stuff. So it's just about driving it smooth. We just wanted to make sure that we're on that starting grid, and I didn't do anything stupid in the meantime.
Well, you did nothing stupid, and you're through to the final. The Crazy Race has given you that opportunity. How do you feel?
I want to pinch myself. It's like what we've dreamed of for months and months, you know, leading up to this. So yeah, massive thanks to the team. Awesome work behind the scenes. Here first every morning, first and the last to leave. So we've put the work in, and now it's time to enjoy it.
Many months ago, you mentioned that you didn't think this would even really happen, and now you're in the final. Can you really believe it?
No, I can't, and I feel like tonight I'm just going to want to, when the race is over, I'm just going to want to do the whole week again. It's going to be surreal, and I'm going to have post-show blues tomorrow, I think.
Thank you very much. Congrats.
Thank you.
Let's take a look at who has made it through to the final. This was their route from the semi-final. The top three qualifiers, Johan Kristoffersen and Molly Taylor. Kristoffersen got a brilliant start, undercut Loeb and Sainz in the first corner. Loeb and Gutierrez going through from P2. Sainz and Sands knocked out in the semi. Hansen and Munnings from the Crazy Race winning that and getting themselves through into the final.
Extreme E is different from any other motorsport in so many ways, even how it travels the world. It has its own floating paddock that ships the cars from event to event and acts as a base for the science laboratory. It's a former Royal Mail supply ship called the St. Helena.
One of Extreme E's biggest challenges is moving the fleet of Odyssey 21s around the globe in the most carbon-efficient way possible. A unique problem that required a unique solution in the form of the St. Helena. Originally built in 1989 to service the inhabitants' needs on the remote island of the same name, the St. Helena has undergone a huge transformation for its new life.
So over the last 2 years, there's been an amazing amount of work gone on from the project team, purchasing the St. Helena, bringing her back and refitting her. An amazing amount of work and effort from everyone.
She's had a complete refurbishment from top to bottom. That refurbishment includes 40 tons of steelwork. All the engines have been refurbished completely. All the fuel injection equipment has been replaced. All the component parts in the engine have been replaced. She now burns low sulfur fuel. The engines are as efficient as they ever could be. The fuel is basically the champagne of fuels. You can't get better fuel for a ship. The vessel won't be going at full speed, she'll be going at eco speed, which means that we get as much speed out of her for the lowest carbon footprint as possible. Basically, St Helena is as new as the day that she came out of the shipyard 30 years ago.
St Helena is got the passenger facilities, passenger cabins to be able to house the many crew that will be working on board, not only with the Extreme E programme but also with running the ship. And also she's got the 2 holds forward, she's got the crane capabilities to be able to lift up containers up and into the holds, so she's the best of both worlds.
With the engineering works finished, it was time for the ship to complete sea trials in order to check that all systems were ready to go.
Currently we're doing our sea trials out in the Irish Sea, not too far away from Liverpool, and the idea of sea trials is to test the machinery, certainly with the main engines, and checking that everything's ship shape, ready to go to sea to start our World Series, our World Cruise as we call it. Certainly during the sea trials we've experienced some quite rough weather yesterday in particular, and she handles it great, so should be the perfect ship to take around the world. Finishing touches when we get back into Liverpool. The preparations will continue for number 1 hold and number 2 hold. But of course we've got the laboratory which has been brought in, so that's going to be a really exciting area that I personally will be very interested in to see what they're doing in there, analysing the environment, analysing various water samples, seeing where we're at. We want to leave the land better than how we found it, and hopefully the laboratory and their answers will be a key part to that. This ship is paving the way to a new future for the environment.
What a fantastic home for a brand new series. That is a paddock of a completely different kind. We have got Christine Giampaolo-Zonca for a chat. She looked super pleased when she crossed the line.
I wasn't really celebrating. I was like, damn it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Tell me why.
Well, I really wanted to get in the final, so actually my team is all happy and I'm just like, oh. But I mean, it is what it is, it's racing. We did a good job, we just got the car to the finish line, which is what we wanted, so.
You were in a different position when you went into the switch. You were already behind, but then your laps really did start to catch up. You had some of the best timings you've seen.
Oh, cool. I didn't know. Thank you for that. I'm excited. I'm happy about that, really.
How did you feel going into the switch, knowing the position you were in?
Well, obviously, like I said before, I was just going for it, you know, and the idea of having dust, it wasn't really scaring me. I was just happy about it, so I'm like, okay, I just have to go even better, you know, so. I don't know, I'm just really sad. It is what it is, but we'll just watch the others.
It was good to watch you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys. It's been awesome.
Good stuff from Christine Giampaolo-Zonca in the Hispano-Suiza Excite Energy team. Fascinating to know that what we all thought was a pump of joy was actually one of frustration because she wanted to do better.
I think there's a bit of both in there. I know she's disappointed she didn't make it, but yeah, they've had a solid week, and that's a good way to start a season. There's plenty of people who are much more on the back foot.
Yeah, that's right. I just realised she's actually born in a city called Pondicherry, right outside of Madras, where I come from, which is completely random for, but you know, it was a former French colony, so quite how her Spanish family lived there for a while, I don't know, but I'd like to find out one.
This is why we need you in the commentary box, Karun. You know, that's some proper background information. I love it.
Such a small
research.
world.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. There you go.
Fantastic.
Random stat of my day.
Well, this was semi-final one, and it was this start with Kristoffersson on the outside. Sainz, the non-racer, was the guy who gave everyone the hassle. He pushed Kristoffersson off to the left-hand side. He squeezed across to the right-hand side, and he successfully shut the door. But Johan had got so much exit speed that he managed to get up the inside on the exit, and it was him that won that first semi-final with Molly Taylor alongside. Loeb and Gutierrez going through in P2.
Yeah, good job for them, and it was Hansen and Munnings that will go through and make the final place of the race. And the semi-finals are done, that's it. We will have the finals for you in just a few hours. Join us then to find out who will win the very first Extreme E event here in Saudi Arabia. Until then, from Karun, from Andrew, myself and the team at XE, goodbye.